If you thought James Jordan's Yellowstone character was awful, watch this other Taylor Sheridan series he's also in. James Jordan's character in Yellowstone, livestock agent Stephen Hendon, was quite a hateable role, but his other Taylor Sheridan show character is much better. James Jordan is one of the many actors who reappear in Taylor Sheridan's shows, and he's arguably the popular writer's favorite collaborator. He appeared in Yellowstone and one of its spin-off shows, 1883, along with Mayor of Kingstown, Lioness, and two of Taylor Sheridan's movies, Wind River and Those Who Wish Me Dead. Each one of those projects put Jordan in a different role and highlighted some of his versatility. But one character in particular redeemed his awful Yellowstone role. Livestock agent Steve Hendon wasn't a major character in Yellowstone, but he was memorable. A big reason most Yellowstone fans remember Hendon is because he was awful. He killed a teenager while on duty, and he also beat two men to death after being told to scare them off. Steve was such a nuisance that he basically became a tertiary antagonist in Yellowstone seasons 2 and 3. Even though he was working directly underneath Case Dutton, Luke Grimes. Well, it isn't Jordan's fault that Steve was so easy to hate. It was nice that he got a chance to play an infinitely more likable character in another of Taylor Sheridan's shows. Luckily, James Jordan's character in Landman was the exact opposite of Steve Hendon. Where Hendon was cruel, cowardly, and self-centered, Jordan's petroleum engineer, Dale Bradley in Landman, was kind, brave, and loyal to his friends. In fact, the only time Dale ever used violence in Landman was when Tommy Norris, Billy Bob Thornton, asked him for help finding the people who beat his son, Cooper Jacob Loveland. Even then, Dale only helped Tommy rough them up a bit, whereas Steve would have abused his power and killed them both himself. The real sign of how different Dale and Steve were in Landman and Yellowstone is, paradoxically, how similar they are. Dale and Steve are both oafish people. Dale routinely tried to microwave beans while still in the aluminum can, for example. But Dale comes across as lovable, while Steve comes across as loathsome. It's hard not to like Dale. He's basically the perfect friend and a great bit of comedic relief in Landman. Conversely, it's hard not to hate Steve. He's basically just a thorn in the side of Case Dutton for the earlier seasons of Yellowstone. James Jordan's characters aren't the only reason to watch Landman after Yellowstone, however. In many ways, Landman is the perfect companion show for fans of Yellowstone. Both are written by Taylor Sheridan, meaning they both have the same compelling and almost soap opera-esque drama fueling each episode. Landman also features quite a bit of action as Tommy battles with a local cartel, which is very similar to John Dutton IA's, Kevin Costner, frequent fights with everyone who wanted his land. In fact, Tommy and John Ailai are extremely similar characters. Strong men who take the law into their own hands to protect their families and their businesses. Landmen may swap out the soaring Montana mountains for the arid plains of the West Texas oil fields, but it's still just as good of a neo-Western as Yellowstone. Another major similarity between the shows that should appeal to Yellowstone fans is Landman's focus on family. John I.E. was constantly trying to keep his family safe and provide a future for them in Yellowstone, while Tommy was trying to heal his fractured family and reconnect with his ex-wife and children in Landman. Actually, Landman is a much more heartwarming take on family drama than Yellowstone, which may even give it an edge over Taylor Sheridan's flagship series. If you thought James Jordan's role in Yellowstone was unbearable, just wait until you see him in another Taylor Sheridan series, because somehow he's managed to up the ante on being insufferable. Jordan, a frequent collaborator with Sheridan, has appeared in multiple projects helmed by the mastermind behind Yellowstone, 1883, 1923, Mayor of Kingstown, and Tulsa King. But while many actors take on roles that show range or complexity, Jordan seems to have a knack for playing characters that make you want to throw your remote at the screen. And if you thought his portrayal of livestock agent Steve Hendon in Yellowstone was bad, arrogant, smug, and more trigger-happy than necessary, just wait until you watch Mayor of Kingstown. In Mayor of Kingstown, Jordan plays Ed Simmons, a prison guard whose moral compass appears to have been thrown into a blender set to puree. Unlike the dusty cowboy bravado he exhibited in Yellowstone, Simmons is a man of the law, but only in the loosest, most questionable sense of the word. He's part of a corrupt, brutal prison system where guards are just as dangerous as the inmates, and he makes Hendon look like a Boy Scout. The irony of Jordan's roles across Sheridan's works is that he's never a leading man, yet he consistently steals scenes, just not always in a good way. His characters have a way of lingering in your mind, not because they're compelling, but because they're so infuriating that you can't stop thinking about them. Simmons, in particular, is the embodiment of everything wrong with the prison system, wielding authority like a weapon and treating those in his custody with casual cruelty. He's the kind of character that doesn't make you root for him, but rather makes you root for his downfall. For those unfamiliar with Mayor of Kingstown, the series follows Mike McCluskey, Jeremy Renner, the unofficial mayor who brokers deals between inmates, law enforcement, and the various factions that ruled the Michigan prison town. It's gritty, violent, and drenched in the moral gray areas that Sheridan loves to explore. And at the heart of the town's corruption are people like Simmons, who instead of upholding justice, revel in the power dynamics of the prison system. While Jordan's portrayal of Steve Hendon in Yellowstone leaned more toward the reckless cowboy archetype, one who occasionally provides comic relief amid the Dutton family's relentless drama, Simmons is a different breed entirely. He's not funny. He's not even remotely charming. He's just a man who thrives in a broken system, unapologetically enforcing rules that only serve to make things worse. If Hendon was a pain in the neck, Simmons is a full-blown migraine. What makes his performance in Mayor of Kingstown so infuriating, in the best way possible, is that Jordan embodies the role with unnerving ease. He's not a villain in the traditional sense. He's not orchestrating elaborate schemes or trying to destroy the protagonist's life. But his presence is enough to make every scene he's in feel heavier, more oppressive. You know that when Simmons shows up, something bad is going to happen, and you brace yourself accordingly. It's the kind of performance that makes you appreciate Jordan's ability to sink into a role so convincingly, even if you can't stand the character he's playing. Sheridan clearly trusts Jordan to deliver exactly what his shows need, a character who embodies the worst aspects of whatever world he inhabits. Whether it's the lawless brutality of Yellowstone's ranching world, or the bleak, morally bankrupt environment of Mayor of Kingstown, Jordan thrives in roles that make audiences uncomfortable. He's not here to be liked. He's here to make you feel something, even if that something is pure frustration. And that's what makes his presence in Sheridan's universe so fascinating. While most actors aim to create characters with at least some redeeming qualities, Jordan leans into the worst parts of humanity with an unflinching commitment. He doesn't play villains in the traditional sense. He plays men who are terrifyingly real, men you could encounter in positions of power in the real world. That's what makes his performances so unsettling. Of course, if you couldn't stand him in Yellowstone, watching Mayor of Kingstown might be a test of patience. Simmons is arguably worse than Hendon in every way imaginable. Less comic relief, more outright corruption, and absolutely no redeeming qualities. But if there's one thing that can be said for James Jordan, it's that he knows how to make an impression. Love him or hate him, you're not forgetting him anytime soon. So if you thought Yellowstone had the most unbearable James Jordan character, buckle up. Mayor of Kingstown is here to make you reconsider everything you thought you knew about frustrating television characters. And somehow, Taylor Sheridan keeps giving him these roles. Because if there's one thing Sheridan understands, it's that sometimes the most memorable characters are the ones you love to hate.